Hello guys, my name is Adrian and welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, I'm trying here to create a small framework in order to be used for some game that I'm developing live on stream. In the past, in the previous videos, we created a small framework in order to handle the window, events, input, and so on. And recently we started our journey with the graphics framework. In the previous video, we handled the math, we handle the buffers, vertex arrays, what is a shader and what is not. And today we'll start a new part in our journey, something about images and textures. So this small part will take something around 3 videos because it contains multiple things. For example, for our geometry, for our little square here, we can kind of apply for it through the shaders, of course, or in some other cases, in some engines, you find this information as materials. So with the shaders and textures involved, you can apply on some geometry. Of course, by mapping some coordinates on it, you can apply an image. But before applying that image, first you need to load it. We have a lot of formats for the images. We have the PNG, which is one of the most popular, but it's also one of the most complicated one to kind of implement from scratch. We have a lot of good solutions. We have STB image that can help you to load different types of images. You have the libpng, which is kind of the standard library for the PNGs and loading, writing, and so on. But we will, because we said that we will try to not use any existing library from the internet, and we are trying to do everything ourselves here, I will kind of implement a very simple format called TGA. It is a little old format, but still used now and then. Why I choose this format? Because it's much easier to read, to parse, of course. The downside for it is that the information, it's kind of what I meant by that, the information. Like the file is very big. It contains the pixel like untransformed. We don't have any compression or anything applied to it. There is a TGA version that it's kind of, it has a very simple compression there. But in general, we cannot compare the PNG with TGA. So, but what I decided, for example, for my engine, to start with this TGA format. So I created with the help of AI, I created the chess TGA texture. We cannot visualize it because by default, most of the image viewers are out of the box with PNG. I'm not saying that at some point we'll not implement also some library to help us do that. But for now, just for the sake of these videos and sharing the knowledge and all that stuff, or sharing this journey, I want to start with TGA. So what we will do, we will modify our resources module in order to support TGA. How do we do that? First, what I will do into my core, I want to implement a new folder. Okay, and I'll call it, of course, data, and I will add a header image to it. Okay. After that, let's also include this data image. I know I'm using precompiled headers. Some people are not very big fans of them, but I like to use them and not to kind of have a lot of includes here in the source file and so on. But at some point, probably I will keep just a few of them and clean up the situation. But anyway, until then, in the image, what I want to do, namespace, of course, core data. And what I will have, it will be a simple struct image, which will have an int32 type as width. Of course, the AI already knows what I want to do with height, and I will have some vector, which will be UI int. So I want to have it as unsigned char. Why? Because the pixels in an image starts from 0 to 255. So we want to have that range. Okay, we have our image. What we need to do for? Like I said, we will have multiple formats for the image at some point. So I will add a new folder here called images. It's not related directly to the by storing an image in this folder, but it will be mostly about image loaders and so on. Let's add this. And what I need to do, of course, after that, I need to add subdirectory images. Okay, so into the images folder, what do we need to do? First, I will create a class TGA image. Okay, let's add this. And I need to add also a header called TGA header. Okay, first, let's make the sources available for this subfolder. So project name, private TGA image, CPP. Okay, that's pretty much everything that we want to do here. And after that, what we will have in here. Okay, let's try to make a build here to be sure that we took in consideration this part. Just a second. Everything should work. Okay, of course, the namespace for this needs to be images. The same for this. Okay, TGA image CPP. I don't know why, but okay. Okay, we are good. So, what we want in here? We have a public, static, auto, load, and I want to use constant std file system. Okay, some of you will say, oh, but why not use just a simple, I don't know, string here? Because with file system with the path, we can kind of have others functionality. Like we can check, for example, if on that path that we are sending there is a file or it is a folder or so on. So in here, data image, this is what we want to kind of, let's say, output from that. Okay. TGA image, that's quite okay. And I don't know exactly, just a second. Load TGA image. We have a problem with the header, just, okay, good. So this is what we want from our TGA image, just to have a load. Okay, of course we can return something like simple, like empty, let's say for now. Into our main, what we need to do, let's say after we have the geometry, we can go like, let's say, have auto. Of course, we need to make sure that we're having the images here, include images TGA image. Okay, and we'll have something like, let's say for now, TGA image equal with the images and so on. The name that we will have, it will be just chess TG. Okay, if we are running, we should not do anything for now. So we should have the same. Like I said, this, let's say, will be like a mini series, will be like around 3 videos, because first we need to load the image, Second, we need to create our texture, OpenGL texture classes and objects and so on. And after that, we need to add something we need to talk about texture samplers. And that's why we want to split this in 3 short videos, or short with quotes, because we don't know exactly how much it will take. In the header, very simple, TGA header. We need to include it here, of course. Include TGA header, very simple. The header, namespace, of course, images, there is no other thing. First, of course, struct TGA header, very simple. It will be used just for TGA files. But the first thing that we need to do, we need to have something like this declarations, pragma pack push 1. This will ensure that our structure is packed, because we will have a lot of UI int 8 and UI int 16. Okay, very important to have this, because otherwise it will not work. If you are curious where I do get this information, it's from the internet. You can search it. It's public information, how a TGA header file should look. It's not something that I'm inventing myself. Probably maybe I can go with a, let's say, custom naming. For example, they have ID length. In general, you see the AI, it's also trained to know the TGA header, but I like to call it ID size. For example, we have rather character, or how we want to call it, UI int 8. We have something called map type, and we have something called image type. This image type, for example, the first 2 parameters will not use first, like at least for a while. But the image type should be like something like, if it's 2, 3, 4, you have something else, you have until 11. If it's 2, it's something like RGB. If it's 3, it's RGBA, something like this. You can read on the internet. I don't want to kind of stay here. My goal is just to have as soon as possible this loader ready, and we can move on. After that, we need to change it with a short, and we have some color map. I will just drop the color. I would like to have map origin, map length, and map depth. Okay, so we have this. First needs to be a short, the second one the same, and after that you have the UI int 8. After that, you see, I will just let it to autocomplete. It will be the same. So we have the UI int 16. 16. You have the X origin, Y origin. This should be 0. The width, the height of the window, the depth. This is, or we can call it pixel depth if we want. This is the, let's say, the information. Like, for example, it's a 24 and 32 texture. If it's 24, it is just something that has RGB. If it's 32, so it's the bits per pixel, or how it's called, BPP in some other situations. And at the end, I will just let this descriptor, because I'm having just a simple TNG, it's not compressed and all that stuff. I can just kind of just go like it is now. I will just do a simple parsing, but later on at some point we will implement that, let's say, small compression. It's I think it's called run length encoding or something like this. Maybe I'm mistaken. But we'll implement that if we will have a situation where we'll have multiple files, and let's say the game, the project, it gets, let's say, very, very big. Another thing that I want to do at some point, like I said, probably will implement that compression. I will implement also at some point the saving. Right now we are reading, we are loading, but at at some point we will implement the save scenario for an image, which will take, of course, some image like this and the path, and for sure we'll see when we implement it. How do we do that? Here, first, what we need to do, we need a TGA header. Of course, we can do some checks if it's a regular file, if we have the path, if it is a filer.path, and so on. But we will skip that for now. We'll keep it very simple. std if stream path, and the file needs to be binary. Okay, because we are reading a binary file, it's not a texture file. Okay, after that, what we need to do, we just need to read the header, and of course the size of the TGA header. After this reading, if we are putting, for example, some breakpoint in here, we should get in this header the width, the height, and other small information. So let's see if we kind of did the right job. Like I said, image type 2 means that we have an RGB, width and height are populated, and pixel depth, it's 24. Like I said, 8 bits per pixel. So if we are if we are dividing 24 by 8, we will get, of course, 3. So these are the number of channels. But for now, this is more than enough. Okay, so if the header has some information in it, of course, we can do here some asserts to be sure that, hey, we had what we needed. But first, what we need is like to calculate the channels. Okay, and the channels is very simple to obtain. Is like header pixel depth, like we saw, 24 divided by 8, very simple, and it will result in 3. And after that, we need to have a size header width multiplied by the height and multiplied by the number of channels. And with it, we'll just have a vector. Okay, UI int, we'll call it content. This is how I also named it into the file, not here. Here, so it's content. Let's keep the same format. Okay, content, that's good. Okay, and with this content, what we'll do is just stream read, and we are reading the content, the data, and the size. Because we are trying to read unsigned char, okay, we need to do this reinterpret cast. Why? Because the read function on the if stream, it's reading simple, or let's say signed chars. Okay, so we need to kind of do this small reinterpret cast. This should be something like a compilation situation, so it should not be expensive. So don't. I know that some people are like very afraid of the reinterpret cast, but don't be afraid. It's not that harmful if you are using it in a simple scenario. Okay, what we can do already, we can have something like this. We can have something like header width, header height, and the content. Okay, why? Because if you are remembering, we just added this image structure. So what we want to retrieve it at the end is like the width, the height, and the content filled with the pixels. Another interesting, like, I don't know, another good thing to know about the TGA images is that the pixels are in a blue, green, red format, not in a red, green, blue. So what we need to do, we need to have an for auto I. We need to go in this by the number of channels, okay? And let's say for each pixel that has RGB, we will do a simple swap with the content at the 0 position and 0 plus 2. Of course, because I will increment, it will be 1, 1 plus 2, and so on. So this will be let's say, the final touch, and it will ensure that our information is in a RGB format. I think this is it for today. If we are running right now the code, we expect this TGA image to have the size 124 by 124, and of course some information in our, or like I would like to say, our pixels. So I think this is it for today. We kind of implement the very simple TGA loader. Like I said, we don't handle the compression now. In some scenarios, I exported my TGA with Photoshop because I have a license. Okay. I exported that with Photoshop, and the whole idea is that for some programs, maybe they will add some extra information there. At some point, we will enrich this TGA image loader to kind of handle some weird scenarios that can appear. For us, right now, it works out of the box. It was the most, let's say, happy path that we can have from a TGA loader. But of course, we need to add some, let's say, exceptions there, and we'll kind of be more careful. But for now, it is more than enough. So, thanks for watching, and in the next video, we will handle the texture object. We will need also to add a new shader, of course, to handle that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.